Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to your Living A Course in Miracles call. Today is Friday, January 26th, and we have a great topic, Chapter 11 of Living A Course in Miracles audiobook to discuss. I cannot wait to hear what your thoughts are on the 6 stages of development of trust, and just have a great call. So we always start the call off by everybody saying their name, what city they're calling in from, and why they're excited about the call. So I will start. This is Jared Krebs in San Antonio, and I'm excited to discuss the 6 stages that we learned about today, and also hear some great forgiveness in the field. Who wants to go next?
I'm Viola Krebs, Jared's mom, and I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm excited about today because I want to hear everybody's take on Chapter 11.
Yes. Thanks, Mom.
My name is... Go ahead, Sheila.
Okay. My name is Sheila Sear. I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, just like Christian, and I can't say that I'm excited, but I'm interested to be here and to discuss this, and I love talking to course people because they get your jokes.
Haha. Awesome. Well, Sheila, welcome. I'm curious, how did you find us?
Well, Christian and I know each other, and we have a discussion group where we meet every now and then, and I met him a couple years ago, and he invited me to this group, and I actually... he shared the link to the Krebs discussion with Gary Renard here a couple months ago, just before Christmas, and I saw that, and then I started watching your videos, so I've been stalking you.
Oh, awesome. Well, welcome. We're super excited to have you.
Great.
And big shout out, Christian. Way to go, man.
Oh, thanks, bro. Yeah, my name is Christian Stanbury, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I'm excited about today's call because today this chapter in Living A Course in Miracles was slightly different than the other ones. Like this one had a little bit of Gloria Wapnick, Ken's wonderful wife, and a poem of Helen's. That was really cool too. So yeah, it's pretty excited.
Yes, it was awesome. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you.
Okay, that's me. I'm Langdon Tompkins. I live in France, so I'm a day ahead of everybody else. And yeah, I'm excited about this one because it's a different part of the course. It's the actual workbook for teachers, and I've got a lot out of this week because quite a lot of birds have come home to roost, I would say.
Yes. Fantastic, Langy. Well, it's good to see your smiling face out there in France. What time is it over there?
It's just 4 minutes past 2 in the morning.
Ooh, I love it, man. Commitment.
Yeah. You got to put it in.
Love it. All right. Well, cool. Well, let's do it. So my highlights were on Chapter 11. I mean, everyone's going to probably say the same thing. I hope not, but was the 6 stages of development of trust, they call it, but then Ken Wapnick also called it the 6 stages of forgiveness, or the processes of forgiveness as well. He kind of mentions that in there, and I even made an effort to take notes on those 6 stages. I was like, man, I'm gonna have those 6 stages written down, and then it's so funny because I know everybody took notes. And then right before this call starts, Angela Irving texts me with her notes, and it's like, boom, all 6. And it's like all this detailed notes. I'll have to read them here at the end, but yeah. So obviously it's like exciting to hear about the evolution of forgiveness, and also to I love the disclaimer he says about not judging or saying, oh, I'm here and you're there, and or what level am I at, and getting kind of stuck in the ego game of where am I. That was helpful. I really liked the poem at the beginning. I thought that it was actually Helen Schuckman reading that poem at the beginning. I was like, oh no, Helen Schuckman's actually talking. But I think she hasn't actually done very many recordings before she passed. Maybe there's one or two, but I've never heard them. Then I figured out it was Gloria on the second time around. And I'm just going to pull my notes really fast just to share some of the things that that stood out to me before we go on to the next person. Hold on, 6 stages. I don't necessarily need to like read all 6 stages unless you guys want me to, but I like that it was called the process of forgiveness. That makes more sense to me than development of trust. Willingness to question every value that I hold. Being in a body is a statement in and of itself that we believe that there is an alternative to God. So the fact that I'm in this body and all of you are in a body is a testimony that we think we're God. And that we're an alternative to God, which it's kind of wild. That was wild to me. The ego's one basic value is that the world is real. That also really stood out. And that the ego wants to put up a fight. It could be a lot easier, but our egos are not that docile. We can't eliminate ourselves that easily, I guess. The content, not the form. And the content, so in other words, the form is whatever we're doing, right? Like I want to enjoy a latte. That's magic. I want to drink a beer, or I want to eat a steak, or I want to go salsa dancing. I don't need to give up any of the form, but it's the content, which is guilt, attack, and victimhood. So being aware of my guilt, attack, and victimhood. So that was good, so I can keep doing my pleasures. And nothing has any value in this world except to teach us that the world is not real. I thought that was funny. Because that means that nothing, like the only value is to teach us that it's valueless. That's the only value of everything. So I'm going to save the rest of this because I think y'all probably have other stuff. I don't want to like say the whole freaking chapter and like take all the thunder away. But those were like some of the main things that I got out of it. And I really enjoyed hearing Gloria's spiritual evolution from Catholicism as well. And it was really quite a fascinating chapter. I liked that it was 1 hour because it demanded more attention on my part. I think gave a better effort this week.
Was that Gloria's story on her Roman Catholicism study, or was that?
Yes.
Was that her story? Oh, okay. I heard a lady telling the story, but I didn't realize that it was her.
Yep, that's Ken's wife.
Well, yeah, I knew that, and
Ken Wapnick's wife.
I didn't realize that.
You there, Mom?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Uh-oh. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, maybe it might be my computer then.
Okay, she's probably having a little internet difficulties.
Okay, I didn't realize it was Gloria with the Roman Catholic.
Yep, that was Gloria.
All right.
Okay. So who wants to go next? We're talking about chapter 11. If you didn't listen to chapter 11, that's okay. We'll do forgiveness in the field at the end. But who wants to go next about chapter 11?
I normally don't take notes. I've never been one, but I took one note. And it was just at the beginning, I remember Ken saying, like, love does not oppose. And defenselessness. And so the stranger on the road is about our resistance. That was the poem that Gloria read.
Yeah, the stranger on the road. Yeah.
Yeah, which is it's pretty powerful how it really does like show our resistance, and how like I've heard Ken say, like if we're really honest with ourselves, like we would like hate this course, or we have like a tremendous resistance to it. At least our ego really like hates
Mm-hmm.
the course, you know. Like I've had moments in my past like 8 years studying it where like I was like really mad, and that's just my fear of giving up my pain.
Yeah, isn't it so backwards?
Yeah, so upside down and stuff. And then moving on to the development of trust section that Gloria read in the manual for teachers, which talks about 6 stages, which is like actually the book that your mom Viola was once asking Gary about, with the stages of our spiritual journey, which is about Thus Spake Zarathustra, a book by Friedrich Nietzsche, that's what it's talking about, right? Is the development of trust, the stages in our spiritual journey, or like Saint Teresa of Avila, interior castle, same idea. And so some of them have 5 stages, 7 stages, 3 stages. But it's really just telling us that it's a process, and not to feel bad about where we think we are. Wins the race. Necessary too. You know, it takes work. It's a discipline. So yeah, that's all.
Love what you said, man. Especially the slow and steady part, right? It's Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
And it's definitely going to take us time and diligence, and like you said, discipline. I mean, it's the most important work of our day. I have lots of business deals I'm doing every day, and I celebrate the days that I read my Course in Miracles, because that was the most important work I did that day. You know, that's how I look at it. But thank you for saying that, Christian.
Thank you.
All right. Who's next? Chapter 11.
I'll go.
All right, Mom.
All right. Let me look at my notes here. I found this chapter kind of hard because I heard the poem, Stranger on the Road, and I didn't quite understand what I was supposed to get from it. But then I think Wapnick did explain that let's see. At first, in the poem, Helen didn't recognize. She tries to deny that who he is, right? Helen tries to deny who God is, and then at the end, she kind of succumbs to it, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the dead are dead; they do rise again. I kind of enjoyed the story. I kind of enjoyed. I could relate to Gloria's Roman Catholic upbringing, because she really explained it well. Because, like, seriously, when we're going through First Communion, you remember this, Jared. I never took it as literal as she did, like as far as the host and putting your teeth on it, and like, you know, it really affected her, like it traumatized her. And what Wapnick talks about is the lady, Rama Christian's wife, the lady who had a special relationship with her niece and was bothered by her niece, and because the niece was always getting in trouble. And she said to one of the disciples, "You will know that I am about to leave when I am no longer bothered by my niece." So she, 2 weeks before she died, she was de-invested in her niece, and she died. And that was the only thing that was holding her here, was just the fact that she was being bothered, and her ego was hanging on to that. And so
Mm-hmm.
that was an interesting take. And then the other poem, I had trouble with the poems, really. The one that Judith wrote, I was a stranger and you took me in.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I was a stranger and you took me in. It was a time of Easter is a time of joy. Through forgiveness, we'll know Jesus in ourselves. We'll forgive the ego stranger in another. Oh, I really liked that. Yeah, that was the other poem. And Wapnick read it. Right? Wapnick read that one.
Uh-huh.
Teresa. Oh, this was good. Mother Teresa, she identified with, she was a traditional Christian, Roman Catholic. She identified with the suffering of Jesus. But she lived it in a pure way. And the way Wapnick explained it is, it will get you to heaven too. If you live whatever path you're doing, it will get you to heaven too. It doesn't have to be the Course. It doesn't have to be anything else. She said, Mother Teresa said that suffering was a kiss from God, which is really contrary to the Course. But she lived that with such purity that would lead her to heaven, just as the Course does. So the Course says, don't give me martyrs, give me teachers. So where in Catholicism, it's like all about the martyrs. Like we have books on martyrs and we're supposed to emulate our lives on the martyrs and be a martyr, where in the Course, it's about the teacher. And that's how they would take Jesus, as a martyr, that's how they would take Jesus as their model. So that is their act of purity. So I like that. I could relate to that. And then the 6 stages that we've all talked about, which was kind of interesting that I think it was stage 2 or 3. You kind of go backwards, because it's like when the teacher thinks that they've like gotten to a certain point and then they haven't. They kind of, I think it was it says stage 4. It says, the teacher sees what he wants. He hasn't come as far as he thinks. But the teacher's already experienced the Holy Spirit and Jesus' love within him that keeps him going. But really, he's not as far as he thinks he is. And about the competition of us saying, well, so-and-so's at stage 2, I'm at stage 4, whatever, I can see how that would happen, how we would do that. It was this was a lot of stuff in this chapter. It was good. I think that's about it for me.
Awesome, Mom. Yeah, I love what you say about the where like it doesn't know, like we don't quite know what we think we know, even though we're further along the way, the path.
What I found kind of a relief in learning this stuff is that when I was going to the Catholic Church, I was like, the reason I quit going was I felt like I was with a bunch of hypocrites. I felt like I was like being judged by all these people, and really, and then I was having a hard time with it because I felt like I was judging them. So it was like, what was the point? So I hadn't been introduced to the Course yet. So I quit going, and then I learned about the Course about 3 years later, and that resonated with me. And then that was even worse, because then I was like really judgmental because I hadn't learned any of Wapnick's stuff yet and the take on it. And I was like, how do I get away from that? And then after learning all the stuff we're learning now, it's kind of refreshing because I know that I don't have to judge them. I don't have to judge anyone because it's just a path and it can lead to the same place. So to me, it's really refreshing to learn that.
Yeah. Awesome, Mama. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
All right. Who's next? Chapter 11.
Well, I made a couple notes here. I don't know if they're applicable, but I'm going to say them anyhow because this is what I've got. Viola, I really I resonate with you. I did not resonate with the poems. I don't think I'm that deep. I enjoyed Ken's description of them. I got that, but the actual poems were like zoom. I don't get it. in fact, a lot of the symbolism stuff I don't get. It really is very helpful for me to hear somebody else explain it, what it means, and then I get it. So that was the first thing I put. So something that Ken said, he said that the real world, something to the effect of, is here and now. And I've spoken to people who seem to think that it's in some far off distant place and it's going to be totally different than everything that we see now. And it's been my experience, and what he said today reinforces, it is the world here and now as it actually appears, minus our judgments and attachments towards it. And I think that is,
Yes.
I think that is huge, because I've talked to people who seem to think, well, you have to, leave this physical world, or as soon as you start experiencing the real world, you're going to die. And I haven't really resonated with that. They can believe whatever they want. But the real world is right here, right now, and it's still fake, of course. It's still an illusion. But it's right now without you putting all your stuff on it. So I wrote that down.
The ability to be, thank you for so much for saying that. I remember Ken Webnick said that, the ability to be here in this body, not dead, not whatever enlightened passed away, but right here, right now, still in a body and totally okay, no judgments, totally at peace, nothing can shake you.
He said, he put it in the words of minus your guilt and sin and stuff, which is, obviously Christian terminology and the terminology the Course uses, and Christianity was never a thing for me. So I like it when you say, okay, remove the judgment, remove the attachment. Okay, I get what that means. You start talking sin and guilt, and it took a lot of listening to Ken Wapnick to figure out what the heck that was all about. Mm-hmm. And so I wrote that. Yeah. So then I also wrote in regards to the stages of our spiritual journey, where we're so tempted to say, oh, I'm at stage 2, I'm at stage 5. Early in my my studies of the Course, I did that, as I'm sure many, many people do. And what I finally came to realize is it doesn't matter where I'm at on this journey. I could be at stage 1, I could be at stage 6, same for you. It really doesn't matter, because there's nowhere to go but back to God. And it'll happen when it happens, and I don't have to be worried about reincarnation or how many more lives I might live or anything, because let's say, I come back 25 more times, I'm not going to remember all of that stuff. It'll be one, right? It'll be one lifetime. So I'm not holding anything about, oh my God, I have to work harder because I'm only in level 4. So I thought that was, I wrote that down.
Yeah, very profound.
And then the last thing I wrote down is towards the end of the recording. It's right at the very end. It's right before the recap. Gloria says that questioning our values is not easy. And I think in the beginning that is probably very true. And for a lot of people, it is very true. And I think that when you've suffered enough emotional pain and you're and you're actually ready for the Course, not just you've suffered lots of pain, but I think that is beneficial. But you're actually ready for the Course to come into your life. It's really not that difficult to question. And I hope this isn't taboo, but I'm going to bring Byron Katie into this conversation. Have any of you heard of Byron Katie at all?
Yes.
So she has her thing called The Work, where, when you experience a thought whenever you experience pain, you question the thought that's causing you pain. And through doing a combination of the Course and forgiveness and doing the work, questioning what I believe, boy, I'll tell you, questioning values is not that hard. I no longer believe anything. So that's pretty much what I have.
Interesting. So the work has helped you with that. Is that what you're saying?
Well, sure, because the first, you identify the thought that's causing you suffering. You ask yourself, is it true? Right off the bat, if you just go with it, you're going to say, oh, yeah, it's true. Otherwise, I wouldn't be believing it. But it's a meditation. You go deeper. You say, can I really know that's true? Can I really know that I'm upset because my children left their socks on the floor. Can I really know that's why I'm upset? Well, what does that sound like? Lesson 5, I'm never upset for the reason I think, right? No, I can't actually know that I'm upset because of that. I'm upset because I don't know why I'm upset, right? And you bring it back. Then you follow it up with who was I before I thought that thought? Who would I be without the thought? And then you turn it around. And to me, the two, the course and the work just mesh so wonderfully together that it's become a whole lot easier.
Wow.
For me.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I've never read that book, but I do know who Byron Katie is, and she's tremendously enlightened and special, and she's actually my mentor's mentor.
Cool.
Yeah, enlightened and special. Haha. Special relationships.
I laughed when you said that, but whatever.
But no, I mean, you know what I mean. She's awesome. So.
Agreed.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. All right, Langy in France.
Hi. Yeah, well, I think we probably covered pretty much everything. Let me see. This particular chapter was a bit of a surprise because I didn't realise, as I mentioned earlier before we went live, it's about the workbook for teachers, and this 6 stages, as spoken about by Ken, sort of puts everything into some sort of perspective as you might, if you've done the course, where you are on a particular day, or progressing through the different bits and pieces. And I hadn't really, although I'd read it a long time ago, I'd not been back there for a while. So for me, it was a time for reflecting on the various stages I think I've been through, and some of them are quite hard. The bit where there's a quiet time, which I've experienced, but there's also a very unsettling time. I think probably going back to the ladders, I know this is something we did before, if you've got to the bottom of the ladder and accepted that we are not real and that we are living an illusion, that's quite a tough cookie to crack to start with. So if you can get over that hurdle, I think the ego then goes into massive defense mode and does all sorts of things to try and reconvince you that it isn't an illusion, it is real, you can suffer, suffering can be a kiss from God, which it isn't. And then you've really got to, as Ken says, you have to live the life, you can't not live it, just don't make any of it real. And the one thing we haven't mentioned, and none of this does, is the holy instant. The holy instant for me, when I first read it, reminded me of Monty Python and Arthur and the Holy Grail, and the bit where they have the holy hand grenade. So when I saw the holy instant, I just thought it was amusing. I thought, what on earth is this holy instant thing? Well, the key to everything is forgiveness. I mean, forgiveness is the key to the door, isn't it? If you can remember to use it and recognize when there's an opportunity to use it, which is the holy instant. And it's practicing and being aware and vigilant for moments when the holy instant is there for you, and you can take advantage of it or completely miss it, completely forget to do it, whatever. If you forget to do it, you end up in deep water, have to remember to do it later. But I found this week has been a battlefield with me and the ego. And I had 2 instances with 2 different people where we were having a perfectly rational conversation. One conversation lasted 4 hours. It seemed to go in minutes, but it was a very long conversation. It was completely amicable. And then the person asked me a question, and I went to answer it, and the ego arrived. And then suddenly the person who asked me the question wouldn't let me answer. and he just went on a rant. His personality changed completely, and he went on a rant for about 5 minutes, and I just sat and listened. And then when he finally finished, I said, well, do you want me to answer? And he said, well, and then he went on another rant. He said, well, you're going to do this and you're going to do that and this, that, and the other. And I thought, okay. So it was a forgiveness opportunity. And I did what I do. And then he stopped. And then it got on an even keel. I did answer and it was okay. And then we had another sort of 20 minutes. And then he did it again. And it was like, where did that come from? It was just like, and I thought, well, I must be making some progress here because the ego's definitely not happy about it. But it was bizarre and actually quite a bit of fun, actually, as looking back on it. And I felt really great afterwards. We didn't have a big row. I just listened to the rant and let him rant, you know. Yeah. And it was completely vacuous what was coming out. I thought, you're an intelligent man. What on earth have you just decided to talk about here? But I didn't say any of that. I just sort of let it go over my head, really. But it was a perfect example of where you can end up you could end up in serious trouble because it could end up a row, an argument, and falling out and never, being able to go back and see them again. But that's not the case. It was wonderful.
Wow, great. That's a great segue into forgiveness in the field.
Yeah, I jumped in with, I've done everything, haven't I? I can go home, I can go to bed now.
No, I have a question for you, Langy.
Yeah.
When you were talking about the holy instant.
Yeah.
And you said you forget.
Yeah, the ego wants you to forget.
Explain to me, because I think that's happening to me too. Like you say, what do you do when you realize you've forgotten? Or just tell me what happens.
Okay. Well, I'll give you. Let me see. I've got cows, and a cow treads on your foot, and it hurts, and you feel anger, pain, annoyance, frustration because it's your fault that you were in the way that the cow did it. And when you're feeling all those feelings, there's perhaps 4 or 5 emotions. That is if you succumb to the pain and let yourself be angry and cross and kick the cow or something, that's a moment where you actually stop yourself and say, don't see it that way. Don't see, whatever's making you feel bad, as I would say now, Holy Spirit, give me back my peace, and then give it away. So, but
Holy Spirit, give me back my peace. Inner peace.
Yeah. The thing is, I've experienced so much peace in the last sort of 2 years. I kind of notice it when it isn't there anymore. But if you're only getting a little bit of peace and most of your life is, rubbish, you probably wouldn't notice what you weren't experiencing anymore. But I've got to the point where, nothing really much bothers me anymore. It's not that I don't care. It's not the same thing. There's something you were saying about being, you said about being judgy. I used to be judgy about everything. I'm not judgy at all anymore. It's just not there. But I had to work on it. It's like learning to play the piano. You've got to practice, And as time's gone on, things have got to the point where I have to look for things to forgive because I've forgiven all the big stuff. So and I said last week, I'm sort of dealing with minutiae. And then I also remember saying, I feel like I've set myself up as if I'm in a lull before the storm. Well, this week I've had a hell of a storm. I mean, it's been, as before I mentioned before we went on air, it's been really, really bad. But as a result of that, it's been the best week I've ever had, probably. So at the end of the day, I can be grateful for what I've learned.
Yeah, wow. That's kind of like my week. It's been like terrible in the world's terms, but I feel great like when it comes down to like spiritual sense, because my problems have sort of like gave me more willingness. Tolerance for pain may be high, but as that tolerance for pain runs out, then I want peace instead and joy, and so it's good.
You know, I've experienced so much of it. You know, if it gets taken away, I know it's the ego that's done it, and I ask Holy Spirit to get it back for me. And of course now, you know, it works. I mean, it always works. I mean, that's, you know, trying is all you need to do, and experience sells. You know. It's, I mean, the weird thing about this is that, you know, I talk to people about it if they want to listen, but they resist it, you know, and you say, well, why don't you just give it away? Yeah, all right, you know, but you know they're not going to, so that, you know, it won't work for them, you know, but
Yeah.
you can't force them to do it, can you? You know, I can't understand why anyone wouldn't. It's not difficult, is it? It doesn't cost you anything.
Hey, I have a question. Is saying the words, Holy Spirit, help me to see this situation differently, is that another way to evoke?
Yeah, that's one I would use. That's the one I worked when I was going to do that job a few weeks ago. I didn't want to go, you know, and I was driving along, and I had this deep fear. It was a deep fear in me about, you know, the whole thing. I didn't want to go. The experience the day before had been dreadful. Well, it was all in my mind, you know, it was all in my head, you know, well, it's not in my head, it's in my mind. And then I had this holy instant. I thought, no, I don't have to do this. I've got to go. I can't turn around and go home. So I might as well make the best of it. So I asked basically Spirit to help me see it differently. And it went like a dream afterwards. The whole week went like a dream. It was exactly the same job. You know, it was still cold, miserable and horrible, but it wasn't cold, miserable and horrible because the cold didn't bother me. You know, being there didn't bother me. And I'm not actually working there now. I got another job, which is a better job, which came in today, which is nice. That was a little miracle. But the thing is, if I got some more work on that job, I wouldn't be bothered about doing it anymore.
100%.
And getting back to what Sheila said about, you know, looking at fears, that was that one where I asked Spirit, when was the first time I ever felt that way, that had that feeling? And it took me back to when I was a child, and I'd been, you know, sent off for a holiday with some relatives who I didn't know, who lived in the middle of nowhere, and I was about 9 years old, and I suffered terrible homesickness. And it was that exact feeling. Why I attached that kind of feeling to going to do a job I didn't want to do was weird. But I gave it away. I thought, well, I've buried that feeling for 40 odd years. It's time to put it to bed. So that's what I did. And yes, I just go. The reason I love this is I just get results.
Yeah.
You know. And you'll have to shut me up because I'll talk all night otherwise.
Well, Lang, thank you for your great story of forgiveness this week, and for sharing how you had a great week, even though it was a hard week, because you evoked the Holy Instant and you were focused on the thought system of the Holy Spirit and forgiveness. And I mean, that's you know, it's a great way to be, and really relates a lot to surrender to whatever's happening and going with the flow. And it's really great examples. So thank you for sharing.
My pleasure. Always.
All right. So who else has some forgiveness in the field?
I have some forgiveness in the field. I'd like to say, in regards to what Langdon was saying, that I think it's so awesome that when you practice the forgiveness, you get the results. I think that is just so fantastic. I also wanted to say, Langdon, you said that the ego took your peace away and you want him to give it back. You know that the peace is always in you and no one can take it away, right? If you're not feeling your peace, you gave it away. And in fact, you didn't even give it away. All you did is you let something come in front of it so you couldn't see it, because it's always there. That's what you've gotten from God. That's it. It can't go anywhere. So that being said, let me tell you about my forgiveness. And, you know, I kind of feel the same way as Langdon there. I feel like I've forgiven a lot of the big stuff, the terrorists and the murders. They don't seem to bother me because I know that they're just suffering pain. But let me tell you, those people that leave their dog poop on the side of the road, or in the field or in the snow and don't pick up their dog poop? Well, so there I'm walking my puppies today, and there's the dog poop, and I'm starting like, Jesus, I want to yell at these people. I'm like, okay, clearly I am not feeling peace right now. Okay, I need another way to see this. Holy Spirit, help me see this through the eyes of peace. No, I don't want to let it go. I want to be mad at these people who leave their dog poop there. So I'm not suffering from it right this particular moment, but it's a thing that still, I think they should pick up their dog poop.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm still working. Dog poop, really.
You know, it's a great forgiveness opportunity.
Yep, over and over and over and over.
Yep. That's right. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's it might be small, but it's there's no difficulty in miracles, no order of difficulty, right? So
Could be a nuclear war, or it could be a piece of dog poop.
yeah, could be anything, and you know, forgiving it is equal miracle. It's an equal miracle to forgive that as it is anything else. So
Well, sure. Anything that's disturbing your peace is disturbing your peace. You're not feeling your peace anymore. So, you know, for me, it's dog poop, you know, and for someone else, it's, you know, something else.
yeah,
They're spouse, you know.
gonna happen. Thank you, Sheila.
Yeah.
All right, who's next? Forgiveness in the field. We got Christian or Team DSI.
Oh, Team DSI. That's funny. We didn't change, did we? And we're recording. That's good.
I'm recording.
You had Mom record. Good job.
Yes.
Well, I said I would. So
Oh, good.
Yeah.
No, I think my forgiveness in the field this past week was our insurance lady. I've tried a couple times to, you know, based on what's going on, to figure out, you know, we have a deductible portion that we need to pay, and just trying to get feedback and have her, you know, she said she's answered my text, said I'll call you in a bit, and has never called back in a bit, a couple times. And so I got to realize people are busy. I'm not the only person insured with this group, but it is very annoying that a person can't follow through on calling back to, you know, my question is fairly simple, but I might just have to take a visit to the office and find out that way for next week. You know,
Great job, Dad.
pretty minor, but yeah, again, I have forgotten to call people back when I said I would, and I do feel bad, but you know, that happens.
Great forgiveness in the field, man. That's big. Forgive that. You don't let it bother you. You call her again.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Mom?
You know, I can't really think of, I was just thinking of Sheila's dog poop. And I'm thinking about the order of hierarchy. It's like dog poop, cancer. Like I think mine's bigger, but it's not. I mean, dog poop's pretty big, but I feel like there's no order of hierarchy. It can be, you know, I'm still going through this journey. It's been, what, 4 months, going on 5. And I can honestly say that I've got peace through it. I don't always get the answers that I want, or like like my appointment today with the surgeon wasn't what I expected, but then it was later, it was like, I was peaceful. I was okay. I was like at peace with it. There's still optimism there. And so I don't really think I have really much to forgive on that, do I?
Shouldn't.
No,
No.
not really.
It was a possible potential, you know, what she came back with.
Yeah.
As far as, well,
Yeah,
what to expect.
it was just, you know, this little aches and pains that I had today, which were kind of, you know, untypical. And I guess that's, maybe I would have to forgive that, because I would try my strategies of putting my hands on wherever I'm having pain and having it go away, and it's not always worked. So that's where I would forgiveness in that, probably. But it's nothing major. I mean, it's Just little things, dog poop, pain.
And how has it gone with like asking the Holy Spirit to see it differently, or like Langy does, giving it to the Holy Spirit or stuff like that?
Yeah, I think that's maybe I'm just doing it automatically because I don't feel myself having to physically ask, and then I'm like, but then I feel at peace with it and I'm okay.
Yeah.
In that certain situation, anyway.
It could be that. Sorry, it could be that you've reached the point that you've forgiven enough of that stuff that it just doesn't bother you now. But don't worry, because other stuff will come up.
Yeah, for sure, other stuff. I think forgiveness. One thing is that it's going to be. It was a realization of that, like this is going to be like a long time. I'm like not even out of the woods yet. It's going to be another like many months, and I'm thinking, am I ever going to be able to be like I was before? I maybe not, and that was a forgiveness that I had to do. Just
well, doesn't the Course say we do not know our own best interests? We do not know what's the best thing. You got to pull out from, go above the battleground, and don't try not to see yourself as a body that this is happening to, but see it as from further out for the good of the healing mind.
Yeah,
it's a tough one. It's tough.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Sheila.
There's a little detail that I don't know if I mentioned it before, but when I first started this, I used to do, try and make, little miracles, and they didn't seem to work. And then I read somewhere that if you ask the Spirit to, forgive something, you'll immediately get a doubt come into your head from the ego. So you'll say, I want this is not my will to be like this. And then the ego say, yeah, but it ain't going to work. So what you have to do is you have to forgive that thought as well. And it's where I get this forgive and forget. Once you've forgiven it, you don't want to cancel it by, having the doubt. So you've got to forgive the doubt and then just try and forget it, forget all about it. Don't keep forgiving it again, and then just be patient. And it does work, but it doesn't always, I think we've been sort of brainwashed into thinking that, in the Bible, Jesus would do something and it was like, there'd be a flash of light and it was instantaneous. And I don't think it was like that at all. So,
remembering that this suffering is coming from a decision that I have made in my mind. And then the second step would be like to replace it with like the Holy Spirit's thought system, or like the atonement, nothing happened, remember the truth, thought by thought. And then I think you're talking about like the third step, which isn't our responsibility, but that's the Holy Spirit's, and he's good at it, which is like letting go.
I think letting go is the hardest thing of everything, isn't it? Because that's the one thing Ken was saying, isn't it? Letting go is not easy, and it isn't, is it? Like the little things like the dog poop or the niece. If that's the only thing that's going to hang on to you, then it's going to hang on to you. So, but it's actually identifying that as the thing that's got. As you start removing the layers of the onion, as some people call it, you're cutting off each one of those little hooks, and then as you get further down the sort of these 6 stages, you get to a bit where you're sort of half hanging on and half hanging off, you know, and then eventually you cut that last little hook and then you're free. But finding that last little hook might be a bit tricky. Like it might be the dog poop.
No, I think life brings you those things. As soon as you're not experiencing peace, you know those are the things. That's it. It's showing itself. It's there.
And the ego might add a few more hooks.
Yep, there's no doubt.
New ones, yeah. So, be forever vigilant.
Exactly.
The Velcro hooks.
Awesome. Christian, you have anything, or you want me to go?
Rock, paper, scissors. I'll go. So, forgiveness in the field. Well, the past month I've built up a lot of poker money, and then I watched myself decide to make some bad decisions and throw the money in the garbage in the slot machines, which I told myself I'd never play because I know it doesn't work. But I watched myself sort of like decide that I was going to do it anyway, even though I knew it wasn't a good idea. I just was going to do it anyway. And so I watched myself do it, and I was pretty mad for like a couple days after that, because it took a lot of hard work and training and like studying and discipline to not do that and build up the money, and then to just throw it away in a couple hours is just, you know, it's kind of silly. And but it kind of helped in the sense also that, like, this is my favorite Ken Wapnick workshop. It's called From Futility to Happiness, Sisyphus as Every Man. And Sisyphus basically is that guy that you've probably seen like pushing a boulder up a mountain. It's like an old Greek myth. And the boulder rolls back down every time he gets to the top, which is kind of like what life is like here. And you were mentioning earlier about how like the only value in things here is to see how valueless it is, or, you know, or how like it's kind of like turmoil. And Sheila was mentioning earlier how it's almost like the suffering was a good thing, you know, like, because until we say like there must be a better way, then we won't have the willingness or the desire to find something of value.
The motivation. I call it the motivation.
Yeah. So that's been pretty helpful, and so it's a process, you know. And here I go, just patiently observing my life, and yeah, I think that's what it's about. And then forgiveness in the field. There was one more thing. Well, like one of my favorite poker trainers or streamers, there's like a community of us, and we'll talk at the same time while we play and stuff. And, you know, I notice sometimes myself will be like, oh, why didn't he say hi to me? You know, or he's talking to everybody else. Well, say hi to me too, you know? And so it's kind of silly, but I noticed when that happened a couple times in the past couple weeks, it's like, it's not him, it's me, you know. It's like I'm just acting silly because he'll say hi all the time, you know, but it's my own perception. So I just forgive that, and, you know, everything goes fine. It's just kind of silly. So,
Christian, what was the course you were talking about, From Futility to Happiness?
Yeah, this one's got to be one of my favorites, and I have a lot of them, and I've heard a lot of them.
Now, what is it? It's a CD?
This is a CD, but there's also a book form, a DVD. There's different
Can you
forms.
take a picture of it and post it?
Yeah, for sure.
It's a
This one's
Kenneth.
gotta be.
It's a Kenneth Wapnick thing, a workshop by Kenneth Wapnick.
I think I would like
Yes.
that. I think I would like that.
Maybe that can be the next thing we listen to as a group.
Yeah.
You
But
know.
it might be hard for everybody to get it, though. That's the thing. It's
Yeah,
easy-
we'll discuss that. I don't even know what we're gonna do next. I'm gonna ask Gary Renard. We're gonna talk to him pretty soon. But
Cool.
yeah, just an idea.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I do need to end this call on the dot at 8 o'clock. So in 4 minutes, my forgiveness in the field is dog poop. There was, well, that's one of them. So we have this little black dog that my mother-in-law and my wife adopted off the streets, and it wasn't my decision. I didn't want no dog. And now we have the dog living with us, and it freaking takes a huge shit right like outside my office. And like he always does it every time Nora leaves the house, man. And like every time she leaves, there's like big old shit everywhere. And I find it a lot, you know? And so I come home, dude. I come home like, and it's right there, and it smells like he just went. Like he just must. It was fresh, you know. And, and I was like, God damn it! And I like, you know, all this shit. And I take a picture of it and I send it to like everybody, you know, in the family. Like, Sam left me a present, and I mean, I was upset, you know, like, and I put it, you know, and I do this at least once a week. It's like, so I just had to forgive it. I don't even know if I forgave it. I mean, maybe later I did, you know, but that's definitely a forgiveness in the field thing. Yeah, that happened, happens every week. So that was, yeah. So anyway, Sheila, yeah, I know your pain, but it's in my house. How about that? Imagine that, man. So another forgiveness in the field. Last night, my wife was just in a mood, and she was just in a mood, and I'm like, baby, be nice to me. And she was in the mood, and I did good though. I didn't totally buy into it. I bought into it a little. I got mad at her a little, but much better than I would have. So I was able to forgive that. Also have some good success there. I've been doing a lot of law of attraction, you know, magic, thinking positive, staying in the vortex, as Abraham Hicks says. And, you know, it's so funny because there's that tendency to feel guilty about using magic. Like, because I'm projecting and I'm going for these goals of, you know, making more money or whatever, being in the vortex to attract more abundance, to attract more health. And subconsciously, it's like you're using magic, and, you know, my ego's like kind of giving me guilt about that. But at the same time, I know what it is. It's just magic. It's neither good nor bad. It's just like having a steak or a beer or a coffee or whatever. And so that's, I guess, another thing is forgiving myself for using magic, really focused on law of attraction and attracting abundance and money, and had a really abundant week. We closed a real estate deal that made us a nice big check. And it's so funny because I notice I still worry about money, even though we really cash flowed positive this month. And it's like, how interesting that I still don't quite have the freedom or forgiveness around that, even when we do cash flow extra. So those are just some things that I'm forgiving and going through. And that's it, guys. We made it to the hour. The hour passed by like a freaking snap of the finger. Really, really very peaceful for me to listen to you, to talk to you tonight. We will be back here next Friday, February 2nd. I'm excited to do chapter 12, which is only 30 minutes. Let's go ahead and end the call by everyone say good night and God bless.
Good night.
Good night. God bless.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Bye. There we go.